What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about Ghost of Tsushima. I want to talk about when the release date for this game is going to be. I want to just have a nice discussion about this game, maybe even some of my worries about this game leading up to E3. Now, this is one of the last E3 videos we're going to have before E3 actually starts. We'll be covering it. And one of the main things I want, what these videos have been about basically is talking about games that could be announced and shown and release dates and leaks and all this kind of stuff. And, Ghost of Tsushima, I do get it. I mean, it's obviously Sony owned, right? Sucker Punch, and it's not going to be at E3 because Sony's not going to be at E3. I think Sony has a really high job here and needs to have their own, PlayStation State of Play or whatever they do, and I think they need to do that just like Nintendo does Nintendo Direct. And I hope to see a lot of things at it. I mean, they don't need to go to this E3. They don't need to have a big conference to show off their things, but I do want some updates on titles that we know about. I want some release dates. I want some more gameplay, and hopefully I want some new announcements for more things. We talked about a Sly Cooper possible remake in another video a couple days ago that could easily pop up too. So when it comes to Ghost of Tsushima, it's one of the most interesting, if not the most interesting Sony game that isn't out yet. I think that's, that we know is coming out in the future because it's a game that really needs to nail it. It's a game that has so much, I would say, hype behind it for good and bad reasons, okay? Obviously, Sucker Punch did what we know of Infamous 2, and then obviously they made Infamous Second Son, and Second Son was a big drop. Obviously that game was just not very good. I remember buying that, I remember playing it day one, and I thought, and I'm a huge fan of Infamous, and I thought that game really, let me down. It let a lot of people down, and then obviously it took a long time, and I think they were experimenting with a lot of different things. I personally believe behind the scenes they were thinking about going back to Infamous, making another Infamous game, and maybe it was canceled, but here we are with Ghost of Tsushima, and I like what we saw with the first gameplay. I like what we saw last year at E3. What I need to do, though, is I need to see more. I need them to just give me a lot more. I need them to refine it. I think when people saw it last year and people were expected to see it, I think one of the main things that people thought of was this should be almost done, and honestly, it kind of should be. In terms of the development time, in terms of even Shuhei Yoshida said years ago that he had played Sucker Punch's next game. It's like, okay, I have a feeling that game was canceled. I have a feeling that this is not that game because what we saw at that E3 demo was not a finished product. It was a game I think with still a lot of problems, and honestly, even the fundamental problems, it's definitely a huge risk. I think even the biggest things that they're expecting from this game to be, and what they want this game to actually be when you're actually playing it, I think it's a very hit or miss thing. I think that some people may really love it and some people won't, and I like that they're taking that risk. I think it would be way less risky to just make another Infamous game, so it does give them, we'll see if they can actually nail Ghost of Tsushima, but it's definitely like they're either gonna really succeed or really fail. The biggest thing is when does this game come out, because that's also a thing that we really get into some murky waters with the future of PlayStation. Next Xbox, fall of 2020, okay? We know that's the worst kept secret in the gaming industry besides Call of Duty. We know that that's going to happen, right? The question is how close to that is Ghost of Tsushima going to come out? And we've talked about this with a lot of other games that I've done, just other videos on. We've talked about BioShock, we talked about Cyberpunk, and all these games run into the problem of if you announce them, if they come out in the spring of 2020, that is right before, obviously, the next console generation. And what happens is, well, then you don't really get to see another game from those people for years into probably halfway through the next console generation. So if Ghost of Tsushima, say, comes out in February or March of 2020, do we get one Sucker Punch game on the PS5 and then we have to wait till the PS6 for their next one? So it really becomes like these guys need to hurry it up, not because I want them to rush, but because I want, they need to start getting ready for the PS5. We know that the first party studios are working on PS5 stuff, so maybe they're trying to figure out how they're going to make Ghost of Tsushima at the same time. Maybe they're working on Infamous 3 for the PS5. That's very possible. I think that actually could be happening. But the closer that, Ghost of Tsushima comes out to the next generation, it's like, well, do you have an advanced port with that? Do you make it, the cross-platform thing? Do you make it a day one, launch day exclusive, considering it's only PlayStation, and you have it come out on PS4 and PS5, where you have you can go into GameStop or Target or Walmart and you see the box cover for PS5? Is that what they're going to do? it's tough because honestly it should already be out. Honestly, if from the time of Second Son to now, it 100% should have been out. They had to have been working on something else. They had to have canceled that. These games should not take 4 to 5 years, and even longer than 5 years to make. I mean, it's been that long since we got Second Son. I believe Second Son came out in February of 2014, so it's been over 5 years now. And I just feel like, yes, there are studios that do take 5 years. Rockstar takes that long. We've seen Warner Brothers Montreal take forever to make whatever the next Batman game is. They made Arkham Origins like 6-7 years ago. We see Rocksteady, who's been working on some sort of new game ever since Arkham Knight came out, and that was back in 2015. So they've been working on a game for 4 years that we still haven't seen yet. That's probably another year out. So we have studios that definitely take 4 to 5 years. But if you have a studio, say like Naughty Dog even, that's pushing out a AAA best game, game of the year kind of stuff, and you have them doing that every 3 years, which is around what they're doing. They were around the 3-year time span. They actually were around 2 years. They were doing Uncharted, Last of Us, Uncharted. Lost Legacy obviously came out a year after Uncharted, and then now we're sitting at almost 2 years since Lost Legacy, but The Last of Us Part 2 should be out within another year, so we have 3 years there, right? Even Sony Santa Monica, God of War, you would expect a new one within the next year or two. I think within a year and a half to 2 years, so 3 years in all, we would see it. Horizon Zero Dawn, all of these games, there's a lot of PlayStation exclusives that you can look at and say they're managing to go on like a 3-year life cycle where they're ready to get the next game out after 3 years. So I feel like Sucker Punch, just something happened to them, and I'm not criticizing them. I really think they created Sly Cooper as well, so I have a lot of respect for that studio. Sly, Infamous, they've made some killer franchises, and maybe this is what they need. Maybe they wanted to just make something completely different because the last 2 things that they made, they did such a great job on. So I'm willing to give Ghost of Tsushima a chance, but I need to see more of it. I need to see something. Their next state of play, I need to see Ghost of Tsushima. I want like an E3 Nintendo Direct kind of thing from PlayStation that week or the week after saying, we know that Microsoft unveiled the next Xbox. We're not going to talk about PS5 until we feel like we want to, but here's a bunch of games. Here's some games that you even saw at E3. We got some exclusive stuff to talk about for them. Here's The Last of Us Part 2. Here's another gameplay thing. Here's the release date for it. Here's Death Stranding. Here's the release date. Here's Ghost of Tsushima. Here's the release date. I want to see that. I really, really want to see that. I hope to see that by the end of the summer, because if we don't get a Ghost of Tsushima release date by, say, September, and I'm not saying it comes out in September, I'm saying we need to know the release date in September. If it's not the first half of 2020, then this is a PS5 game, and I guess that's exciting because it would technically be the first PS5 game that we know for sure that's an exclusive. Death Stranding could still come out on PS4. Last of Us should come out on PS4, and Ghost of Tsushima is really the only other high-profile one. So it would be exciting to know that. We know Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is in development. That'll be a PS5 game. But in terms of the 3 games that we know about, it would be the first one that we know is coming for the PS5, which is really cool. At the same time, if that happens, just tell us. I want to know that this game is coming out on the PS5. But if it is, that also, you can't really talk about it until the PS5 is announced. That's another problem a lot of these games have. Are we going to get a BioShock announcement? Maybe, but it's probably coming out on the next generation of consoles, so they can't really say anything about it until we know officially from the big 2 companies that the next generation consoles are coming. We need to have those official statements before. I feel a lot of games, once we find out when the release dates or specs even for the next generation of consoles, I feel like we'll see a lot more games get announced and say, we've been waiting for this, and now we're finally ready to talk about our game. So guys, let me know in the comments below, when do you think Ghost of Tsushima is coming out? I think 2020 is when it'll come out. Whether it's PS4 or PS5 is debatable. Depends on when we see it and depends on what's talked about. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And we have 1 or 2 more E3 videos, and then we're at E3, and we're going to have tons of content for E3 throughout the entire week. And we'll be talking about all the stuff we learned at E3 throughout the summer, getting ready for the fall with tons and tons of games and so many awesome things from the channel as well. So we're very, very excited for that, and we hope to see you guys there.